present?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you. So I see everybody's there, not already showing up on my screen. Gotcha. Okay.
They're all
Live.
on your participants list, Dick. If you hit the participants, you'll see everybody that's there.
Oh,
And-
great.
Yeah.
There's
Dick, would you like the agenda on the screen or
Yes,
to see
please.
everybody? Okay.
Dick,
Hey,
also
everybody.
Mario Royer is going to be, he's just linking in right now, so you'll see him pop up shortly.
I saw him pop up. Great. Okay, everybody. Well, thanks for being here. It's 10 o'clock. Thank you, Emily, for being so punctual. We'll kick things off right on time. Good. So before you is the agenda. Welcome to the April 22nd Police Services Board, Hamilton Township. Call the meeting to order. Is item number 3, declaration of any pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Okay, hearing none. Additions to the agenda. First of all, I'd like to indicate that there will be an in-camera portion of this agenda will be added. In-camera legal matter. Additional items, Terry Bender.
He's muted.
You're muted, Terry.
Sorry, we were going to discuss the cyclist problem.
Okay, under new business 13.2 cyclists.
I have one too,
Mark,
if I could go forward with it. It's dealing with the enforcement in the parks during the COVID lockdown.
okay, 13.3. COVID-19 enforcement.
And that's in the parks mainly.
Okay. Enforcement parks. Is that okay? COVID-19 enforcement parks.
Great.
Okay. Anything additional? All right. A motion to approve the amended agenda, please.
Dan,
Moved by Terry, seconded by
Dan,
Dan. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay. That's addition to the agenda. Confirm the agenda. Having no delegations that I'm aware of. Item 7, approval of the previous meeting minutes. You have received them. Any additions, corrections, or deletions? Thank you, everybody. Hearing none, a motion to approve as printed, please. Moved by Dan, seconded by Mark. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Any business arising from those minutes? Mark?
Right. At the last meeting, there was discussion of the speeding on Danforth Road and whether there was appropriate signage and so forth if we were to go forward and use our Black Cat and
Yes.
have it policed better. I did get a report back from Lucas Kelly, our roads chief, and he has given me a list of the signage here. I could read them out or I could send them off to whomever wishes to see it. There is 6 signs going eastbound and there is 3 signs going westbound. If you wish, I could read them off very quickly. There's one.
Go ahead.
The first sign going eastbound is it's about 50 meters past the arbor tree. It's 400 meters west of Ontario Street. Then the next sign is a 50-kilometer sign. It's 200 meters west of Ontario Street. And then there's another one at Ontario Street itself. Then there's a 200-meter sign just east of Stone Ridge. And then there's another 100-meter sign east of Division Street. And another 400-meter sign east of Division Street, further on from Division. And then when you go westbound, these are all 50-kilometer signs again. It's 100 meters west of 45 Highway. And then another one at 300 meters west of 45 Highway. And then there's another one that's 100 meters just west of Castle Hill Road. So there's quite a few signs through there, a lot more than I thought. There is 9 signs through there between going each direction.
I can jump in, Mark. That last sign that you mentioned is probably the most significant one. It's just, I think it's just one property to the west of Castle Hill. It's not very clear. It's in sort of in a hedge.
Is it? Okay.
I think there could be some cleaning done around that sign to make it much more visible.
So I can definitely mention that to Lucas or follow up if you wish.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, what do we want to do with that? Mark, any needs?
Well, at this point, I mean, there was talk of us enforcing this area better. Obviously, we've got enough signage there. Looks like we have enough signage there.
I think so.
So I don't see why we can't have maybe the police look at it better and perhaps, you know, there was talk of putting a black cat up and so forth or having our own sign put there. I'm good either way.
Okay.
I
Can I
can
hear
jump
from
in
Jeff?
again. I'm sorry. I was going to jump in again ahead of Jeff to say that, you know, I've been contacted by Mark Collins, and I'm almost positive that he's paid an actual visit to the complainant to have a discussion about how it was going to go forward. Now, I don't know exactly what happened from that, but I know that he contacted me the very next day after our last meeting. So I know that he's putting an effort into trying to solve the issue. So,
Yes. Okay, good. Jeff?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. And yeah, that's correct, Mr. Mayor. What you mentioned, Mark was on it the next day, as he usually is, very quick in responding, and did have some conversation with the complainant. Longstanding issue on Danforth as far as speeding complaints. Historically, all black cats that we put up there usually come back fairly low. Especially in the west. Mark has spent some time, both himself as a traffic sergeant and traffic members in the past month, out there running radar. And I was just talking to Mark this morning about it actually, and he said consistently 50s, a couple in the low 60s. We wanted to put the Hamilton Black Cat up right away, but Rob Simpson, who takes care of it, he was running into some tech glitches with that unit again, which he sorted out. So we're hoping that's going to go up either some point today or tomorrow, if not early next week.
Good.
And Mark explained that to the complainant, took the time, of course, to explain how black cats work, of how we, rather than send out high resource officers for that enforcement, not knowing if it's a true issue or not, that we like to use the technology first. So Mark's got a lot of good communication there, and we are following up with that black cat for at least 7, maybe 9 days of data collection.
Okay, good. Mark, any comment?
No, I think that's wonderful. I mean, it doesn't sound like there's an issue there, but of course, the public sees it as one, so we have to follow up. And it's good that we
Great.
are.
Okay, Bill?
not quite so scientific as the police force, but I have a friend who lives at the top of the hill, and I went up one day and banged on his door to see if I could sit around him for a while. We're just watching. And like Jeff said, there were not a lot of vehicles that were
Okay.
Really, really noticeable. Most of them are, they're accelerating up that hill going westbound, and then they sort of let off at the top of the hill. But, today's cars kind of coast on a bit. But the only vehicle that was really, really motoring was an empty school bus. And I don't know who, somebody was late for being somewhere. It was moving. It was not funny, big vehicle like that. But
Of course.
other than that, I didn't really see anything out of the ordinary. So I know Jeff's indicated this many times before. People hear the loud sound of the engines, and they just jump to all kinds of conclusions that they're speeding. So, but I do have to back up what Mark is saying. We have ratepayer complaints, so we need to do our due process, follow it through. We have the information. So, I want to thank Jeff and Mark for getting on top of this for us, and I think we can leave it in their very capable hands.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Jeff, and I guess pass that on to Mark too, would you please?
Will do. Thank you.
Okay, anything else having to do with previous minutes? Okay, moving on, correspondence, communication, nothing from this month's period. Item 10, OAPSB update. Dan, over to you.
There hasn't been any further discussions from OAPSB, so I've got nothing to report there. The next meeting is April 29th.
Okay. Thank you. Financial reports, item 11. Faye, would you like to summarize, please?
Sure. So what we have here is the final numbers for 2020. This is what they're going to submit to be audited for their annual auditing. You will notice that we have a higher revenue than what we budgeted by $3,000, which is good. Our operation costs, we only used 80% of our budgeted amount, but within that 80%, we had $2,864, which we used for I believe it was canine patrol to patrol the parks for the pandemic. So that amount wasn't budgeted because we weren't expecting it. So if we didn't include that, we would have only used 75% of our budget, which I think is excellent.
Okay, great. Any questions for Faye or comments?
Thank you.
Okay, hearing none, then receive that report for information, please. Bill?
Sorry, I got my hand up late.
Okay, go ahead.
The wheels don't turn as quickly as they used to. We're looking at the same situation. We just had discussion at Tuesday's council, and the canine, they are going to be hired again, and it is going to be a cost overrun for us on the budget. Not so great over the course of the summer, but we're adding a bit of time early and late. That's an additional, correct me, Mark, if I'm wrong, I think it was $5,400.
Yeah, I think Arthur's there also. He could probably clarify better than even I can. But
Okay, then Arthur can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it was $5,400
I think you're right, though.
additional fee, which we're going to tack on to, in May and then at the end, just because we shut down too quickly last year. We've already seen from 2 Saturdays ago when we had that, super warm summer day, we were inundated. They just came flocking out of the city, and I'm getting the phone calls already. It was only like early April.
Right.
So I don't know where our budget stands. I know we did kick in a few bucks towards that service last year. I don't know if we have that capability or not, but if we're only using 80% of the budget, I'm not sure what we're doing with the other 20. I'm assuming it would go into reserves. And I know we've already been really generous with, cutting our budget and returning money to the municipality. We've been more than fair. Absolutely. I'm not indicating anything else, but if there is money to put towards canine to help with park enforcement, then I'm sure that the rest of the councillors would feel as I do, that would be very much appreciated if we could put any way that direction. So I'm going to toss that out there to see what anybody else thinks about it. So,
Mark, is that your reference to the additional item too? Was it the same kind of topic?
Well, I wasn't going to go into the financial end of it. It was more questions in dealing with enforcement end of it.
I see. Okay.
So it's a little different, but
Okay.
I would like to comment on Bill's
Go ahead.
ask. I mean, I have no problem in forwarding some more funds from this committee on, but I'd really like to wait a month or two just to see where we are, because I mean, I do know that yourself and I know that Dan are going to be attending a conference, even though it's virtual, there is cost to it. And I just like to see where we are in another month or two before we start donating more money back. I think it's something Bill and I both could go back to council and say, hey, there is maybe opportunity there to give, that we may be getting some more funds, but at this point, I just think we're a little early to do that. But
we could even put it off longer than that, Mark. We could wait till the end of the summer.
Yeah.
See where we stand, and then maybe we could, give that, if we were in a position, then we could perhaps give that money that would tack on the additional time that they're going to spend in the fall.
Sure.
That gives us lots of time to assess our own situation. I'd be more than content with that.
I think and I think as long as we note something from this meeting moving forward, that they can maybe make a note that, there may be an additional ask for some funding for the K9 unit. And I think that would be wonderful, but I don't know what
Okay.
the rest of the board thinks. I can leave that up to the other board members.
Any other comments?
I think it's good to assess it at some point in time too. The summer's probably a good time to do that. And we have a better sense for where we are.
I don't think
So
there's any real
though I'm
rush.
also not expecting we're going to rush out and spend a whole lot of money. Otherwise,
Okay. So let's put that forward as a further agenda item, Faye. Let's mark it out 2 meetings from now. Would that be reasonable?
Or more.
Or even more? Well, let's put it out 2 more meetings, and then if we don't need to revisit it, then we'll go beyond that. So that'd be,
Okay.
say the June meeting, Faye. Let's put it on as an agenda.
June
item.
meeting?
Yes,
Deferred
please.
to June meeting? Sure. Okay.
Yes, please. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I wonder what happened to my screen. I see. Emily's moving it. There you go.
yeah, that's what I was wondering too.
Yeah, I'm thinking, okay, I'm clicking the wrong thing here. Thank you, Emily. Perfect. Okay, so that was finishing up financial reports.
We
I
just
don't
need
think
a
it-
motion.
Motion
Sorry,
to
we need-
receive for information?
Yes.
Right. Thank you, please. Moved by Dan, seconded by Terry. Any further questions on the financials? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, detachment commanders report. Jeff, over to you if I could, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning to everyone. So for our March report, starting at the top, we had 1 complaint that has been processed through the OARPD, and that's a service complaint. I'm aware of the details and not concerned. Secondary employment remains at 2. Under our data and stat area, 196.5 hours of cruiser patrol in Hamilton in March, 13.5 hours of foot patrol. Under detachment initiatives, 75 ride programs throughout the county in March. Education campaigns in March was National Fraud Prevention Month. And I think we all know that fraud is never a sleeping beast. It's always finding different ways to defraud our community members. So some significant OPP corporate communication releases were put out. I just included the one here, but there was quite a few more. Locally, Rob Simpson, our media officer, Rob did a terrific series of anti-fraud videos that I forwarded out to all chairs in the county. Great job, got a lot of positive feedback, and they were picked up by OPP corporate as well and used on our corporate Facebook, which isn't the first time for Rob. So very entertaining educational videos. And he put sort of the Mercer report angle on it, which a lot of people enjoyed. Rob puts a lot of time into it and really gets a great bang for the buck out of his productions. Also, I'll just mention quickly, it's not on the report, but this was another traffic initiative we did through the month, and is specific to Hamilton Township. There was that complaint of underage kids on dirt bikes, ATVs on Bamsey Road. So Mark Collins and his crew spent some time throughout the month down on that road. Didn't come across anything, but that's a spot we'll of course keep our eye on for ATV use in the summer. Onto the statistical portion, motor vehicle collisions, that's a county-wide number of 52 total. For the month, 40 of those property damage only, and 12 involve personal injury, and no fatals during the month of March. Next page is our county-wide template, just showcasing a little bit more of the breakdown of MVCs throughout the county. Hamilton showing 4 total MVCs, 1 PI, personal injury, the other 3 were property damage only, resulting in 1 person being injured, and that brings your year-to-date total in Hamilton to 16. Next page is top starts with the violent crime report. And for that, we had 3 violent crime in total. 3 were assaults. And I'll give you a little bit of information on that. The first assault 3 people were involved. 1 was stabbed, and all 3 were charged. Quite a lot more information, as I'm sure you can imagine, surrounding that. A second was a mother reported that her 18-year-old son was assaulted by a group of teens, and that investigation is still ongoing. And the third, a man was assaulted by 2 males in his backyard. 1 male was charged with assault with a weapon, possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, and unauthorized possession of a weapon. So that's a little bit of information on the violent crime. Property crime, we had 5 in total, 1 theft over 5,000, 1 fraud, and 3 mischief. The theft over involved theft of 30 chainsaws and 9 leaf blowers from a business, plus damage to trucks. Approximate value of the theft and the damage was $25,000. And for our mischiefs, a lock on a complainant shed was broken off, but no property was stolen. A complainant found her car window had been smashed by a bat, and another, someone spray painted the back of the tailgate of a complainant's truck. And then our 1 fraud involves someone who took $500 fraudulently from another's bank account. No drug charges in Hamilton for March. And then our clearance rate page is next, just showing the 66% clearance rate on the violent crimes and the low clearance rate of property crime, very difficult for clearance on property crimes. As I mentioned, there are a couple of those are still under investigation, so charges most likely in 1 or 2 of them will still be coming forward. Next is our matters of interest page at the top, showing 140 calls for service for the OPP in March. And we had 3 EMCPA or COVID non-compliance related calls generated in Hamilton. And then the various matters of interest for your reading pleasure. And then our next is the false alarm report, and understanding Mario sat in for me at the last PSB meeting, and there was a concern. I think it was 9 or maybe 11 false alarms from February. So you can see that that's back down to a reasonable level of 2 false alarms, both of which officers did attend the scene. Next page, Provincial Offense Act charges, 410 tickets total throughout Northumberland catchment area. 102 of those were in Hamilton Township, 23 on the 401, and 79 elsewhere in the municipality. And last but not least is our Northumberland OPP Auxiliary Report. It's been a tough time through the pandemic for our auxiliary members because of lockdowns and whatnot, not being sworn members. They've been stood down for most of the pandemic. And we have lost a few of the members over that time for different reasons, but we're trying to engage them as much as we can. They're very important to what we do, usually outside of a pandemic, and all different community festivals and crime prevention initiatives. So we only have the 8 members right now. We continue our recruiting drive. Up until this latest lockdown, they were stood back up for about a month and a half. Able to do, you can see March 20th and 21st in Brighton, Campbellford, and Hastings, they had Easter food drives, which was very successful. And you can see the total volunteer hours for the month of March was 134 and 3/4 hours. Currently right now, again, with the current situation, they're stood back down, and we hope that's going to be changing soon and get them out again with our officers and active in the community. Pending any questions or concerns, Mr. Chair, that is your March report.
Thank you, Jeff. Very concise as always. Are there questions for Jeff? Bill?
Thank you, Dick. I just have one, Jeff, about our provincial offenses. So we're normally near the top of the list, but the breakdown usually is a large number of 401 offenses and a smaller number in the municipality. And I just noticed this, it just sort of jumped out at me this month that we're much higher in the township and much lower in the 401. I didn't know if that was a change of priorities or just an anomaly or what was going on.
Yeah, I'd say anomaly, Bill. I'll look into that further through Mel Allardyce, who's our court pro, and she prepares that document. But yeah, it is a kind of a flip in the ratio there a little bit. So I'll confirm those numbers. If there's any change or an amendment, I'll let the board know. But
You don't have
Yeah,
to go.
that
You don't have to go to the trouble. I just wondered if you had some change of policy or some reason why it showed up with that. But if not, then don't spend any time on it. It's fine. Thank you.
No change of policy. It's, sometimes kind of like our rides, our foot patrols, there could be a spike just depending on one platoon who, sets out, has a little bit more time and more initiatives, that can see a spike. So usually something like that, there's really no specific rhyme or reason. It's usually just a situational something going on over a weekend.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Okay, anything else for Jeff? Okay, hearing none, a motion to receive for information, please. Moved by Mark, seconded by Bill. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And once again, Jeff, and to Mario too, thank you for what you do. Item number 13, new business retention list documents. You're cleaning up some documents, Faye. Over to you.
Yeah, so I've been working with Emily. Thank you very much, Emily, for all your help on this. I've been going through documents that were in the filing cabinet for the Police Services Board, and I'm starting to remove anything that's basically over 6 years old. So this is my start of my list. I have a rather large box, so pretty much every meeting will have another list. So I just need approval that I can destroy these documents.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the destruction of that list, those documents?
I'd like
Moved
to
by
ask a
Bill.
question. I'd like to ask a question before I make
Yeah.
that motion. What do
Go
we
ahead,
have?
Bill.
Do we have some criteria that we base whether the information needs to be retained or not?
Yes, so Emily, they've been working on a retention list of how long documents have to stay on hand. And basically for meetings and minutes and agendas, we have to keep at least 6 years. So I'm working on 2010, which is obviously more than 6 years old.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so a motion, Bill?
I will make the motion, yes.
Okay,
I'll second.
and seconded by Dan.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have any other questions? This is quite standard procedural retention policy. I'm sure that the township's got that policy in place. All right, all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, those documents proceed. Okay, thank you. All right, item 13.2, Terry, the matter of cyclists.
Yeah, I was approached by a resident, as I indicated in my email, which I think most of you got a copy of. It's in regards to cyclists not sharing the road or refusing to share the road. And it's most often a cycle club or cycling club that are either on a road tour or on a rally or race or whatever you want to call it. And they're riding 2, 3, sometimes 4 abreast. And when you come up behind them or even give them a little toot of the horn, let them know if you're coming, there's no movement by the bicycles. And another complaint was they're not obeying stop signs or using any hand signals, rules of the road, that sort of thing that apply to bicycles. I did a little checking, and there are 3 organized clubs for cycles in Northumberland County. That's the Cobourg Cycling Club, Northumberland Hills Cycling Club, and Ganaraska Freewheeler Cycling Club. Now that spring is here and bicycles are going to be more prevalent on the road, I'm just wondering if we could maybe try and educate these people through the police services or by posting something on a website. I leave it in your hands and suggestions.
Comments from anybody?
I could comment, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Terry. That's kind of an easy one, I think. That's an easy outreach for us from our traffic unit, Mark Collins. And I know Mark, he was in contact the last couple summers with various cycle groups. I know at least the one that you mentioned, the Cobourg Cycling Club. I hadn't heard of the Ganaraska one before, but we can contact a chair or a manager of all those groups and just remind them and see if we can help or partner with them in any way. You're dead on. They have to obey rules of the road like any other vehicle, motorized or otherwise. However, at the same time, sometimes we do get the cyclist complaints. We do have to remind some people that they have just as much right to the roadway as our cars, whether it's safe to do so on a county road or not. I sort of question that sometimes, whether I'd want to put my life on the line of a painted strip on the shoulder, but they have every right to be there too. Concerning though, if you, like you said, Terry, 2 or 3 abreast, that's just not very wise riding practice. So yeah, that's great. Thank you for that information, and we'll reach out sometime next week.
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Bill?
And we could probably help through the municipal office. We have this electric signs. We could probably put some messages up about, it's springtime, it's cycling. Let's remember the rules of the road, that sort of thing. And I keep volunteering Emily. She's online with us today. She's done some amazing things with our, with our social media and our webpage and so on. So she might be told to put a few things on there as well, that, just to remind people. I shouldn't be speaking for her, but she's here if she wants to yell at me. No, go right to Emily.
That's okay. I can add some stuff to Facebook for a bit of a campaign, for sure.
Okay, we appreciate that. And Arthur, I see Arthur's with us as well. There's no reason we can't use our electric boards. Is there, Arthur, for some messaging?
Oh, that'd be a very appropriate spot. We can do it there. We also have the electronic boards in Baltimore and at the fire hall. So we could use those 3 electronic mediums as well as Facebook. I have spoken in the past with the Coburg Cycling Group about their interest in our own plans, because the county and the township have cycling plans. And so there's a definite connection to those parts of the community. So I heard the comments about approaching those groups, and I think that would be very worthwhile as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. Does anybody need any language? Jeff, is there any simple 5-word, 10-word language that you might want to help somebody that can easily put up on the sign?
Yeah, what I could do is we could dig into our corporate public service announcements, or even if they have a short video, and we could pass that along to Emily if she chooses to post that on the municipal boards. That way it's directly from the OPP. Just basically respect everyone on the road, and everyone has a lawful right to be there. Yeah, so Emily, I can send something, or have Rob Simpson send something over to you.
Yes, that'd be perfect, and I can share it easily that way. Thank you.
Great. And then some few words for the signs in front of the office would be helpful. Okay, good, thanks. Anything else, Terry?
Well, that pretty well covers it.
Okay, thanks for bringing that up. I think that's some good work. Cool. All right, don't need any action on that. Item 13.3, Mark, COVID-19 enforcement in parks.
Yeah, I'd like to refer this to Arthur if I could. I do know that staff have met since our township meeting, which we had on Tuesday. So I know he has a number of questions that were brought forward even from his own staff. So Arthur, I'd like him, if you'd like to take over.
Sure, thank you. Thank you, Mark, and thank you for having me at the police service board meeting. We, as you know, and as Mayor Kane had mentioned a moment ago, we're seeing a great increase in the activities in the park already, almost to the level of some of the summer events last year with that warm weekend, the weekend before last. We've brought a plan for our parks and parking strategy for this year, and we envisioned having basically a number of changes that we hope will reduce and mitigate the impact of COVID and the use of our parks. In other words, we want to encourage people to be able to use them, but not to sort of overwhelm them. This includes a number of parking changes to signage in the community, as well as some restrictions we're looking at. We're going to test restricting fishing in the parks, because that seems to drive a lot of business, a lot of activity, and create conflict with other users. And then the last part of this is we are looking at amendments to our parks bylaw, which will increase the potential for some areas for fines, but it's also going to mean that we're looking at increased enforcement. We're looking at a contract with Canine Security, similar to last year, to have them patrol the parks on Saturdays, Sundays, 12 hours a day. In other words, not being stationed in one, but circulating amongst the 3 main waterfront parks. And we're also looking at contracting with them 2 evenings during the week. So we'll change that time depending upon pressures or availability, or just mix, I don't say mix it up during the week, but have sort of a sporadic pattern during the course of the week. So with the combination of, again, of these physical changes, the changes to our bylaws, and increased enforcement, we wanted to basically to let the Police Services Board know that those were some of our actions. And I know last year in particular, we had the ability, the cooperation between the OPP and our private enforcement at that time, where they either exchanged a number or they were able to communicate to one another if there was an issue that was coming up. The one I can think of example is the most was in September, there was the powerboat event in Bewdley, and we had private security and staff sort of see the overwhelming crowds, and we had to contact the OPP, and they came and assisted in that event. But there are other times as well, just to be aware, if that would be something that would be helpful, we'd be able to arrange that this year as well. So that's my sort of update on the physical, the fines, the enforcement, and our plan. Very briefly, our plan over the course of this summer to have that increased sort of supervision of our parks.
Thank you, Arthur, and thank you for being here. Appreciate the information spread to us. Jeff, a bit of a comment on support, which I know is always there, but go ahead.
Yeah, first of all, thank you very much, Arthur. Very progressive and appreciated forward-thinking plan. We certainly appreciate that, and we worked through it last year very successfully, specifically in Hamilton because of the Bewdley site, and we had some successes, later on in the summer with the private security, Canine Security. David Hutnick is the owner there, and we stay in contact with David on a few different reasons. He does provide some ATV patrol with in the county forest as well. Mm-hmm. So we do have his contact information. In fact, we're trying to arrange in the next 2 weeks to have David come in, and so we'll speak to the Hamilton piece as well. Yeah, just very appreciative of the work in that. We're always there, of course, and available, but finite resources like everyone else. And, most of the time our officers are engaged in reactive calls for service.
Okay, thank you. Further, Bill?
Thanks, Dick. Just to add, Jeff, what we really want to make sure is that there's a clear delineation between what Canine Security is supposed to be doing for us, which is bylaw, and OPP responsibilities. And what I'm saying is we don't want Canine trying to do things that they really shouldn't be doing, such as enforcing the Highway Traffic Act, for example. That does not fall under their jurisdictions. So I think when Arthur was asking about the communications between your two groups, I think it was for those kinds of situations where they could see that there were clearly, provincial laws being broken, but they don't have the authority to do anything. So they would want to be able to contact whatever patrol was, that could respond. We did have some complaints last year about them overstepping their authorities, and we really want to make sure that kind of thing doesn't happen this year. We want to really clearly delineate what they're expected to do and what they're not expected to do.
Right, and I can provide a little bit of a background there. We have met with the owner previously, not specifically in Hamilton, but ATV patrols, some in the forest area of a little bit of Hamilton, exactly what their role is and their authorities. There were some reminders there, not to blur the lines of a police officer authorities and provincial offense officer authorities. So again, there was an understanding there. That's part of the reason I'd like this meeting coming up shortly, is just as a reminder of what their authorities are and what they are not. They're pretty clear, and anyone I think in the private security business, that should be a priority to them to communicate to all their staff members exactly what their role is. But I think that's, I'm glad that you're bringing that up, Bill, because you're the employer of this contract. So I think it's important that they hear that from you as well.
Thank you.
If I may, sorry, interrupting you, Mark,
Please.
go ahead.
No, you go ahead. You go ahead, Arthur. I had a
Okay.
different question, a different issue.
So okay, thank you. If I can follow up on the discussion to that point, we are planning a sort of initial project meeting with Canine Security, giving council's instruction and our intention is to make sure it's very clear our desire to have bylaw enforcement, not police enforcement. So we are having that project meeting coming up, so that just so you know that will be occurring. We'll also be giving them the proper, setting up with the proper authorities to pass the bylaw by council to give them the authority to enforce our bylaws, and we're also making sure we have them suitable authorities for court to be able to process properly Provincial Offence Act fines as well, or tickets as well as necessary. But that, of course, is not to take away from the important role that the OPP have in policing our community. So that obviously is ongoing. I'm glad to hear that you're having a meeting with them as well. So our messaging will be consistent, obviously.
Yeah, and if you think it'd be helpful, Arthur, we could have an officer be part of that if you think that's appropriate. So all parties are meeting. Also, question: is there an expectation, or has it been communicated to them as provincial offense officers that they will be laying tickets related to the ROA if there are COVID non-compliance?
We're going to have that discussion with them because obviously we as a community are impacted, as all communities are, by that act. So this is something that we're going to have. We're hoping that by some of our actions to reduce visitors, we won't be faced with that as much. However, obviously that's something that we'll have to have them look at if the individuals are breaking those provisions of the Stay-at-Home Act or not socially distancing, looking at that as a possible mechanism to solve it.
Thank you.
So the laying of those charges.
Okay, thank you. Mark?
I think my question's been answered, and it was in relation to us, who is going to look after the charges for social distancing and large gatherings within the park. And I think Arthur's mentioned now that it will be the K9 group that will do that. So.
Okay. Further then on this matter? All right, good sharing of information. Thank you, Arthur, for
Right.
being present with that.
Thank you.
Likewise, Jeff. And I know if past history is any example, it'll be as good this upcoming year as well in terms of cooperation and support for one another. So once again, thank you. All right, don't need any action out of that, just good communication. Our next step would be to move into in camera, please. Then can I have a motion to move into in camera, please?
And
Terry, second by Dan. All in favor? Carried. Okay, thank you.